Hey, I don't know what happened. When I put that last video up, it was perfect. And when I've seen it on the internet there on the YouTube, you could tell everything was out of sequence. So I don't know how YouTube's messed it up, but it's not how it was supposed to come out. And sorry about that. Hi, welcome back. Nana, you're a winner. I'll be sending your bedrock gravel samples out at the end of the month. Everyone will get their bedrock gravel samples at the end of the month. And Kingman, Arizona, prospecting, he's another winner. So anyway, I'm gonna give you a little bit of behind the scenes, what I do every day or every other day, depending on how long I run this tractor. But for every 6 to 8 hours of operation, I had to go over the whole thing. And let me show you everything I got to look for. I'm going to check my tires. I'm going to look for movement between these nuts and these washers. You see, if this wheel gets loose, and they do, they absolutely do, you'll see movement, and it'll tell. Now you can see that it's moved before. These have been retightened, but I periodically check these often. Same with these ones. Sometimes I walk up to them and I can just sit and turn them. This one got loose a lot, so I had this goofy nut I had to change, and I had to do this to keep one nut would make this knot get tight until I put that big washer on there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check all my fluid levels, and then I'm going to get my air blower out, and I have to blow off all of my grease points. And thank God this one's saved. This is also my Caterpillar Backhoe 416 CIT product review. See that? Sticker's worn off. This is a 1997 model. But when this thing came out, this was pretty cool. Yeah, 416. Now the CIT means integrated tool carrier. So they don't even call this a backhoe. It's an IT. And the difference on them is these black loading arms. Regular backhoes have yellow loading arms, and they have a center ram called a Z-bar curl system. This backhoe is designed to pick up with a forklift and keep the pallet level as you go up and down. That's why it has this extra set of linkage and everything to allow you to pick up straight up and down. Otherwise, a regular backhoe lifts up at a radius like this, and if you're picking up a load, you'll tip it over on top of you. So it's special design just for that. And the other function about this regular backhoe runs at a 26 gallon per minute hydraulic flow, and with that you can run your implements or run the equipment. And this has a quick connect system and what they call an American coupler system, where this bucket will come on and off without me having to leave the cab. And you've seen me run around with the forks. I don't know where I left them right now, but I think they're over there. I'm going to put the forks on and be able to move stuff around like a forklift, and be able to lift and lower like a forklift. So that's what makes the CIT Caterpillar different than just any backhoe. Now I'm just going to set you over here in the corner, and I'm going to put it on high speed so you can just see what I have to go through. This will take at least an hour. you know, if I wanted, and I'll always find a problem. Now here's, I'm just doing a quick walk around and I see we're awfully wet. And we've developed a new leak. And oh yeah, there it is. So that's just since my last inspection that started. And that's really critical, not to be dripping oil out here. Really critical, because guess what? The EPA came out here when I wasn't around. And they did a sneaky surprise inspection. And they had a few issues with me. But like all responsible miners, when the government has issues, you respond to them immediately and you take action, and then you maintain a good relationship with them. But this is why I need the blower, is to blow all this stuff away so I'm not jamming more dirt. See, this is always a bad one back here. You gotta clean them or you shove dirt right in them. These ones are always bad. There's another bad one. Now this is why I usually wear coveralls, because I start my day off by getting grease blown all over me, and then I get to wear grease all day. But these are the worst ones of all. It seems like I change them every single day. One scoop of dirt and it wipes them out. And I made it through one day without ruining both of them. But these little rocks get in here and get on top of this, and when I curl, if any of my it's the tailings that kills me. Any of those tailings roll over the top lip of that bucket, they fall into this, is like an elbow in here, and catches gravel. And then when I roll back to carry the load, it pinches and rips the top of that zerk off. And that is the single biggest thing that pisses me off about this backhoe. Because look at here, the last guy that owned it didn't take very good care. Well, they got tired of changing them every day. That's ridiculous, because I literally change these. Well, let's go look in my box, I'll find it. It's got I got 50 of them. I got 50 new Zerks over in my grease box. It's laying around here. There's my grease gun. But no, look at this. You see, when you see a repair like this, see this weld? That's not factory. That is not, that's a repair. And oh, look over here. They've had to cut the whole front of these loading arms off of this backhoe and completely replace it with new ends that had to be welded on, because the last guy that owned it before me gave up on greasing it and just sat and wore this out beyond repair to where, this is what you do. This is what happens when you don't grease a machine. They get worn out to the point where you just have to cut them off and replace it. Well, I'm not going to have to do that again. I do everything I can to take care of these, and if you look, there's a little bit of play in them. When you see that spacing between the clean and the dirty, that's how much play you got involved in your pins and bushings. The bad thing about this, it does wear out pins and bushings pretty quick. I got stress on the bucket right now, but believe me, this thing rocks and rolls when you, just like a set of door hinges. You know, door hinges wear out, the door starts sagging. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sets of hinges on each side. That's 22 sets of hinges. And when you add up all the tolerance, oh, this one's off 3 thousandths, that one's off 10 thousandths, and you add all that tolerance together, well, then it really moves a lot back and forth. That's why it's important to grease things, you know, a lot on these particular ITs. There's another hinge I didn't count. There's another one back here. So 12. There's 24 hinges to grease every day. Back here, this thing has dug, this came from a plumbing company, and they dug a lot of plumbing, I think about 100,000 miles of plumbing, because I've never seen a more sloppy backhoe in my life. But there's been work done to replace this stuff and it's been worn out again. There's a lot of play here. When you see that crack, that's a lot of movement. This, you shouldn't have any movement here. This pin is worn bad. Once again, you see spacing here, severe wear. Anyway, I'll go set you in the corner and I'll show you how I do my maintenance, but we'll do it in quick time. Oh, there's my box of those. Only one kind needed. I can't believe I made it through a day without having to replace at least one or the other, but by getting them all clean, they accept grease really well. And now I've lifted up the bucket a little bit. See the movement in that? It's kind of dramatic, but one thing, if you're getting ready to buy your first machine to dig up gold with, and you're looking at used equipment, one of the best reasons to stay with Caterpillar is because the aftermarket supports it better than anyone else. You definitely, if you're buying old used equipment, you want to stay with Deere, Case, or Cat because they're American made and the aftermarket in this country supports them. But no one's better at that than Caterpillar. They've licensed other companies to reproduce their parts more than anyone. Now, when you buy an old worn out piece of junk like I did, and you got really bad pin and bushing wear, it's better not to over grease them. It's really easy to over grease them. When you have that kind of space and you have that kind of slop in there, it doesn't pay to keep pumping grease into it until it squirts out, because the first time you make movement in there, it's just going to squish it all out. So on this really worn out stuff, more often, just give it 3 or 4 pumps more often. Sometimes I grease, if I'm loading the plant with this, every time I take a break to go have a sandwich or get a drink or get off that machine, for if I've been running for at least 2 hours, which I usually do, 2-hour session, I'll run 2 hours at a time and I'll get you know, 25-30 yards. It varies, but when I go to take a break, I'll definitely hit this guy down here. He's the worst on the machine. If you could see the movement in that when I push backwards, I mean, it moves like a long ways. This one up here too, this is really bad. And to repair that, you have to take this whole unit off, and they would have to do like they did on the front loading arms. They would have to just cut the back of that plate off and bring a whole nother one in and weld it, because it's so ovaled out in there, you normally can't fix it. Once the bushings are gone and it won't hold new bushings, it's ruined. And that's just about the point where these ones are at and these ones. So I give them, it's better to grease them more often than pack them full of a lot of grease. They're only going to hold so much. Now see what happened back here? And this is important to keep from hitting on the ground. See, I killed two birds with one stone here. I'm picking up a piece of trash and taking care of that. Put that over here because that's also a fire hazard now. I got to get that in a metal container and properly taken care of. We do the best we can. But yeah, if you try to over grease them, just like that blob there, I tried to over grease that big hinge up here in the middle. So it's better to give them just a little bit of grease and do it more often than just try to load it full and let it run for a long time. I was thinking about, I never counted how many grease certs, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We didn't see these ones down here. They don't need greasing for about every 2 weeks. That's just U-joints, and you can over grease them to push the seals out. So what was that, 12, 14. There's one back here, 15. That's the same thing, once a month on them. 16. 17. I didn't grease that. I forgot one. Look at that. 18. 19, 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Oh, yeah. What was that, 25? 26, 27, 26, 27, 28, 29. Now, see that, how it's smashed? That's why it's not accepting grease. I have tapped it on the ground. It's hit a rock, and that's all the damage you have to do to these things, and they reject the grease. And if you're a lazy mechanic and you just want to get going, you just ignore that. And then pretty soon you've got a worn out machine back here. And there's another one. 27. 29. It's a lot of grease, so it's to keep track of. But I'm going to do the fluid check now. And now I got grease on my glasses. That's just always love to get grease on your glasses when you wear glasses. Okay, I'm gonna get ready to fire up that plant here. So this thing's greased up and ready to go. I got to fuel it up yet, and then I'm gonna turn that stockpile on over there. Whoa, wait a minute. I've got to finish my Caterpillar backhoe review. Caterpillar's really good. You won't go wrong buying one unless you overpay for one. But my biggest thing is, why couldn't you, Caterpillar, why couldn't you put a grease zert on the side of these loading arms that didn't get busted off every day? You know, they make pins that you can tap from the side, like John Deere has a lot of those. But you know, you more or less grease them like this. This pin is tapped. Why didn't you do that here? If you would have done that, you would have made the perfect backhoe. Now, the reason I'll never sell this backhoe, because it doesn't have a circuit board, right? The technology in '97 didn't warrant circuit boards. Everything is still mechanical. This backhoe is completely rebuildable and supported not by Caterpillar, but by the aftermarket. And the cost of new backhoes are $125,000. You know, I could put new pins, new bushings, rebuild the engine, I could completely rebuild this backhoe, performing the labor myself, for considerably less than it would have cost for a new machine that I wouldn't be able to work on, because it's got a circuit board, and the first thing you got to have is a computer to plug into your tractor. And out here in the middle of nowhere in the desert, that doesn't serve me very well. So this is as modern of a piece of machinery as I'm ever going to buy in the form of a backhoe. Excavator, that's a different story. But I love my backhoe. At the end of the day, Caterpillar makes a great backhoe. It's so weird having clean water all the time. Just hard to get used to. I like it though. getting the most out of every day right now. Trying to, at least. I keep moving it back and moving it back, but there's 10 yards of rock right there. I don't have to worry about that vegetation anymore. What a lucky day. I'm truly blessed to find riffles. More riffles, more gold. Look at that, what a lucky day. I found a brand new set of riffles. Only buried for 20 or 30 years. But look, there's one spot with no rust. I'm gonna make those catch gold again. They might fit in my big box. Wouldn't that be great? Big rainstorm last night. I hope there's enough water to put a dredge in it. That's what I'm coming up close with. If there is, I know people who want a dredge. Oh, no. Well, yeah. That's enough water to work with. Not enough for dredging, but you could put a high banker in there. Still pretty windy. We're gonna get more rain. All right, I got my slab cleaned off. This will be a great thing when I need to work on something and get on my creeper and be able to roll underneath it. So then I'm going to move the gold room right over here.